Hi, everyone. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U. And today I want to welcome you to 8 ways to write better action. I had a conversation, and I just want to tell you this up front. I had a conversation with a producer who is one of the big action producers, and she said something really interesting. She said, a lot of times people will come in and they'll pitch me a script or they'll hand me a script, and she'll go, I'll look at the first scene and I'll go, wow, okay, there's a scene from John Wick. And then she says, I'll look at another scene and I'll go, wow, that one came from Bourne Identity. And that one over there, that came from Mission Impossible. And she goes, what I see most often is a lot of scenes that have come from other movies. And she goes, that's not what I'm looking to buy. We're looking to put millions and millions of dollars in something unique, something that's going to impress people, something that's going to surprise audiences. And so she goes, I want to see new and unique action. And she asked me at that point, she goes, can you deliver that for me? And I thought it was really kind of her to invite me into the conversation. But the answer is, that's what today is about, and that's what the program is we're going to be talking about. So let me just kind of walk you through this. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk first about the 3 steps of great action scenes. And for most people, 2 of these steps are missing. Most people have a tendency to focus only on the action and to make the action as cool as they can, which I understand. That's a good strategy, but you'll see the other 2 on this need to be there. Then we'll talk about the 8 ways to write better action scenes. So I'll give you some tips that will help you out on the scenes that you've already written and the ones you're going to write in the future. And finally, we'll talk about the upcoming class, Writing Killer Action Scripts. That is a professional level model for how to write action that this industry is interested in. So let's jump into this. First, the 3 steps to great action scenes. And again, these may not be what you think they are. First one is pre-action. What happens before the action scene that sets it up and has it be meaningful? And we're going to walk through that so you know. Second, of course, is then the action scene. What needs to be in the action scene? And by the way, how much of that do you already have there? And whatever you have, spectacular. But anything I present in here that you go, oh, I haven't done that, or I'm only doing that on certain scenes, but I haven't done it on all my action scenes, any of those are new learning experiences that can make you a better writer. So my advice would be to embrace them. And then here's the third, post-action. What has changed in that situation? Right? And it's like, again, here's what I see. I see a lot of people who focus a lot of attention on the action itself and leave out the pre and the post. And I'm serious, it's completely missing. Those 2 will double the quality of the same action scene without changing a single word. I can use these 2, the pre-action and the post-action, to double the quality of that scene. So this is absolutely worth mastering. So let's walk through it here so you can see it. I'm going to use an example from Bourne Identity. This is the moment he arrives in Paris, right? And you guys may remember this. This is actually the first time he comes in contact with an assassin. So I'm talking about the original Bourne Identity, the very first one of the Bourne trilogy, or 4 of them. Bourne has lost his memory. He desperately needs to find out who he is. After going to the safety deposit, he finds 5 passports. Those ultimately lead him to his apartment in Paris. So if you remember, he took a ride with Marie. They're on the way there. Everything has calmed down, right? Up until that point, he's, he does get in a fight with some cops. He's running. He gets in a fight at the embassy. He's just trying to get to safety so he can figure things out. Now, the pre-action. At the apartment, the landlady recognizes him as Jason. Oh, now he knows who he is, or at least he thinks he does. Him and Marie, they survey the apartment, and everything seems absolutely all right. We have this kind of moment between them. It looks like they're going to get romantically involved. It's like she's impressed with his place. He's impressed with it. All kinds of good things are happening at that moment until the action. A man with a gun breaks through the sliding glass or the glass window and begins shooting. Now, if you remember that point, it's confusing. And if we were in that situation, it would scare the daylights out of us. Bourne immediately just goes into fighting. And these two, and this is one insight that occurs in the midst of this, they both fight in the exact same style of martial arts, which is Kali. Kali is a Filipino martial arts style that has some great hand techniques. It has amazing knife and stick techniques. And if anybody's wondering, I would absolutely recommend it if you wanted to learn, some high quality stuff. They end up fighting until Jason finally wins, gets the guy down, breaks his leg, breaks his arm. And then the hitman jumps out the window and falls to his death. Now let's pause right there. So we had the pre-action, right? This is all the setup of what's going on. It gave us the meaning of why we were there. Then this action occurs, and it goes from the moment the guy breaks through the window until he finally falls to his death, right? At that point, then we go into the post-action. And the post-action on this one is in the hitman's pouch. There's a wanted poster with pictures of both Jason and Marie. And that means something, right? Something has changed in a big way. There's a revelation here. They are being hunted by assassins. It means whoever sent this guy knows exactly who they are, knows exactly where they're going to go, right? That changes everything. Now, again, when you're thinking about this, you want to make sure that you have a strong post-action and a strong pre-action, because both of them make a difference. So let's take a look at that. Pre-action, and these begin my 8 ways to improve your action. So pre-action, number 1, set it up better, right? Look at your action scene and start asking yourself some of these questions. The story demands the action, does it, by the way? And you're going to create that in the pre-action. One or both sides must take action to survive or to win. That's important. If you don't demand the action, if it hasn't been designed so that we go, oh my God, they have to go into something like this. If you're not demanding the action, then we got a problem. Action's just going to show up for no reason. And there's a difference between it showing up like a surprise, like in the previous scene that I was talking about, versus it showing up for no reason. No reason has the audience go, what the hell? Why did that happen? And that's not good. You don't want them to be going, why did that happen? Like there's something wrong. If you set up a situation where they go, oh my God, why did that happen? And they're doing it and as a search where they're looking for what's beneath that surface, what's hidden, great. That works really well. But if they're going, what the hell? This makes no sense, you're in trouble. So that's important. Also, there's a need that must be fulfilled, which leads to the action, and your job is to design that so that the audience, again, we're going in not just because the story demanded it, but because there's a need going on for that character. Now, let's back up for just a second here. With the whole Bourne thing that we just saw, he has a serious need. And by the way, this guy breaking through the window actually helps move him towards discovering who he is. So it's designed really well. Then you want to make sure you give it a meaning in advance. Now, again, let me go back. Years and years ago, decades ago, I watched 3 older Chinese Kung Fu movies. And they were all in, Chinese language with subtitles. But those movies, they would have a fight here, and then they would walk to the end of the block and they'd have another fight happen there. And then they'd walk down the street and they'd have another fight happen there. There was no meaning for any of them. I couldn't tell, who are they fighting? Why are they fighting these people? Where did these people even come from? Is this the way it is in China? I haven't been there, maybe. And actually, maybe not, I don't think so. But it's like they gave it no meaning. So the only reason we were watching it was as a sporting event, essentially. You don't want that to happen. You want people to be blown away by your action, but even more important, you want every single thing that happens in this story to have real meaning. So you give them that meaning in advance, right? So you're going to be asking yourself, why does this matter to these characters and to the journey, right? There's something going on here. There's a reason you chose to have that scene, not just because, wow, it's been 10 minutes since we've had an action scene, but you set it up in advance so that it matters. And so we are going into this action scene saying, this is important. It's not just about this character's life. It's important as part of the journey, right? And it's like here, the CIA has sent these assassins. It's important that he goes through this, that Bourne actually fights these people, finds out who he is in the midst of it. And at the same time, it's also important because he is step by step taking out some of the assassins that are coming for him. So he's showing that he's a worthy opponent, and that even if he doesn't know everything he's doing, it comes to him. He's been trained well. And by the way, the other part of what's happening here, the other part of the meaning, is we are seeing Bourne's training. We're seeing the Treadstone training show up. It's like, you know what? He knows how to fight with weapons. He knows how to fight with guns. He knows how to fight with knives. He knows how to fight, hand to hand. And he's as good or better than they are. So setting up that kind of meaning in advance and designing it so this scene can give us that, that's incredibly valuable. So number 3, create a plan and see if it works. So the plan is there to resolve some kind of need, right? The character has some kind of need, or you may have a plan that your hero is enacting and that they're having to take these steps. Either way, most likely the plan is going to be disrupted by the other side, right? If you've created great antagonists, whoever's coming after them, if you have created some really high quality and they're worthy opponents, they're going to be doing everything they can to disrupt the hero's plan. So this is also part of it. This is you making it so this stuff has all kinds of meaning and is so interesting for your audience. Number 4, well, let's just be clear. The action either happens by surprise or by plan. Now, we just came from that scene. We watched the guy break through the window, start shooting. We watched the fight that happened. We watched the end of it. Let's be clear. For Bourne, it was a surprise. For the CIA assassin, it was by plan. So actually, it fulfilled both of these at the same time. Now, once we're in the action, you need unique action. And let me just clarify. Like if you look at John Wick, the thing that was unique about it was what they call gun fu. And you may be thinking that's a joke. And there is no such thing as gun fu, but please know this. You go look it up on Wikipedia and you'll find out that there is a martial arts style called gun fu. And essentially what it is you take whatever martial arts you're already doing, and then you involve gunplay in the midst of that without shooting your arms, your legs, or your head, right? It's like, and that's hard, by the way. If you're talking like, you know, I've got a black belt in Wing Chun Kung Fu. If you put a gun in my hand and asked me to do 30% of the things that I do in that, chances are I'd be shooting all kinds of things except the target. It takes a lot of training to be able to do that well and to be able to do that without hitting things you don't want to hit. So with that, it was that. Let me go back to a long time ago, the Steven Seagal days. If you guys remember when the whole Steven Seagal thing came out, nobody had used Aikido in the midst of any of these movies before that, because maybe they hadn't found a star that was good enough. Maybe they thought it was, you know, kind of a soft skill. I don't know what it was, but as soon as Steven Seagal burst onto the scene, it wasn't because he was a good actor. It was because he had this interesting version of Aikido that he could use to actually take people down and take control and kick 20 people's ass at the same time, right? We've seen this over and over and over. A new martial arts style or an old one that we haven't used before in movies suddenly comes to the forefront, and it's the big craze. If you can find that, if you can discover some level of new martial arts, not UFC, that's already so televised, nobody's going to say, oh, wow, I want to go see a movie with that because it's unique. They already know it. So what are you going to bring to the table that is unique, that is something we haven't seen, or something your character does that is a version of these that is different than what everybody else does? So this means some form of new action, right? What haven't we seen before? If you can plug in some kind of new action, that's going to make a big difference. Or the same action in a new way, right? It's like, how can you take it to an extreme or go opposite or use unique weapons or whatever it is? You know, like John Wick, what was it? John Wick 3, where they had Halle Berry doing pretty much the exact same martial arts as John Wick was. She did two things that were different. First, it was a woman. And she's, by the way, she's as badass as he is. She was amazing to watch. And second, she used her dogs in conjunction with her martial arts, right? So it took us to the same action, but in a new way. And then the dogs gave us a what haven't we seen? So just that might make a tremendous difference for you, and it's worth doing the research to find it. Now, number 5, then escalate the action. And this, I'm sure most of you already do this. You know, you start the action at one level and then it builds until it becomes extreme, right? So you go from fist to knives to guns. And by the way, this is exactly what happened in the John Wick, I think it was John Wick 3, when they did the knives displays, right? They had displays of knives on both sides. They went from fist to knives and ultimately ended up at guns. Or you could go from one attacker to many to hundreds. You know, and this happened, by the way, in The Matrix. So, and a bunch of other movies. And then twist the advantage back and forth, right? Don't just make this just a continuous move up and everything's great. Put your hero in serious peril, right? They're winning, they're losing, then they're winning, then they're losing again, right? It's like every time you twist that, it gets the audience re-engaged. If they just go out there and just kick the shit out of somebody and that's it, it's like, all right, wow, that scene. Now, there are times when you want them to go in and just mow everybody down. And that'll be a creative decision on your part. But if what you're trying to do is to get the audience more and more engaged, try this out. Then, this, by the way, causes the audience to go from hope to fear to hope. So it creates basically an emotional journey for us as the viewers and as the people going through this particular experience. So remember, the characters had to fight for the reward. So we're at post-action now. They had to fight for this reward. And this is, again, this is one of the things that I see a lot. You know, you read a script, they'll have the big action scene. This character is fighting for their life. They get done, and then they just get in a car and drive off and nothing has changed. And it's like, all right, now what are they going to do? They're going to go to the next block like the old Kung Fu movie and just get in another fight that has meaningless and doesn't change anything either. You don't want that, right? So they had to fight to win this thing. They had to go for this reward. Don't leave the story in the same situation as before the action. And this becomes this question: what has been revealed, right? Now let's go back to Bourne, and you'll see what I'm talking about. What was revealed with Bourne? A bunch of things. and here, let's just see what we have here and see if it fits. What has the character learned? So we got to the end of the scene with Bourne, and what they learned was that somebody has their pictures that came from the embassy just the night before. And she asked the important question. Marie says, who has the capability to do this? Who could do this to us, right? And it's like, yeah. So them learning first that somebody else has their pictures, these assassin they know exactly who they are. That makes a difference. What did we learn about the opposition? Well, a couple of things during this. First, we learned that they're willing to do anything to kill him, right? Somebody jumping through a window and firing off their Tommy gun or whatever it is, without any concern whatsoever, they are willing to do anything to make that hit. So that's one thing we just learned. Second thing, of course, they have intel. Somewhere they got that information. Third, that means they're somehow connected to the government. They somehow got that from the, from the embassy. So they're connected. This is real. This is big, and whether it's negative or positive, make it important, right? So the other thing, there were things that we learned also. We learned things about, Bourne, how he fights, things like that. We learned that they both have the same style, which now points us to they were trained by the same people. There's a whole bunch of things there, but whatever it is, make it important. And this is important. This was a moment where they thought they were safe, and it's like, no, they're not. And basically, based on the information that just happened, what we realize is they're not safe anywhere. So if you're getting that, if you are looking at the end of the action scene and you have this kind of stuff showing up for the audience, you've done a really good job. You have moved the story forward. You have moved us past just seeing a bunch of fighting and that kind of thing. You've given all of this lots and lots of meaning, right? It is a whole different level than what 97% of the scripts that come into contest give us. So you are going to stand out because of that quality of writing. Now then, what has changed? So usually coming out of an action scene, a character will have more motivation to fight or defend. Sometimes they'll have more fear. It just depends, right? But a lot of times the character will be thinking beforehand, they're trying to avoid conflict. They don't want to be part of this or anything like that. If you take Bourne and you go to the early stages, he's just trying to solve this one problem. You get 2/3 of the way through the movie, when we're starting to hit that third act, he makes a major decision at that point that he's going to take the fight to them. And that comes out of an action scene. So this becomes very, very important. Also, are they in a better situation or a worse situation? Right? If they had to expend all their resources during this particular action scene, and now that means the next one they're going to go into, they don't have bullets, or they don't have weapons, or they don't have whatever, they're in a worse situation. Or if they're physically damaged, right? It's like now the fighter is going into the next fight already at a disadvantage. It's going to make it really much harder for them to win. And then, did the plan succeed or did it fail? And sometimes this changes a lot of things, right? It's like, if you look at sometimes in Mission Impossible, a plan will fail and suddenly the government will withdraw resources or they will abandon Ethan Hunt or something like that. And it's like that plan, that action scene that we just saw, put Ethan Hunt in a 10 times worse situation, right? So this stuff makes a difference. So knowing all of this, the question is, what are you creating through? And this is an important thing to consider. Most people are basically creating through what they've already seen. So, and this is the problem. It's natural to just emulate what you've already seen in other movies. And this is what I was talking about at the very beginning when I was talking with that producer. She kept saying 85–90% of the scripts she sees coming into a major production company are derivative, right? They're scripts that have the same kind of action we've seen in every movie. They're cliche. Now, you don't want that. I mean, it's okay if you're just writing it for yourself and you want to practice writing a scene and you look at a John Wick scene and you say, okay, I'm going to write that scene just to get the experience of it. I got it. But if you want to like enter contest and hope to win, which we've had a lot of people come out of this program and win, if you want to enter or if you want to go to producers and hope to have a chance of making a deal, you can't write in a way that just emulates what you've already seen. It can't be derivative, right? It needs to be something else. So the key to your success on this is to master a professional level action model and then let your creativity flow through that. Now, even if we talk about what we just talked about today, if you let your creativity flow through those 8 steps, it will make a big difference in your actual action scenes. But what I've given you today really is just basically an explanation of it. I haven't given you the how-tos on those, how to make sure that you're creating something unique, how to make sure that it's as strong as possible, that what you lean pre-action, that what you create ends up being something that sucks us in or creates the big surprise that you want or whatever it is, and post-action gives it significant meaning and makes a major change, right? We talked about how to do that. I haven't given you the how-to. And the truth is, what I gave you today was about half of one lesson. Now, if you liked today's session, I promise you, that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to being able to write incredible action. And again, action is one of those things that I think anybody can write action, but very few people can write it at a professional level that studios, streamers, and producers would want to be involved with. So stay with me for about 5 minutes. Let me just walk you through a class that will actually give you that kind of level of skill and have you be able to write at a level that is so much beyond where the vast majority of people who are coming into this industry write. In fact, this will put you in the top 3 to 5% of all the scripts that are coming into town for action stories. So if that's something you want, stay with me here. You'll like this. Let's start with this. This is a 30-day class. It has 14 lessons during that 30 days. Each one of them focuses on one of the keys to your success. As we're going through these, what I want you to notice is which of these are you not already a master at? So the first one is creating a marketable action concept. Really, truly, less than 5% of the people that send projects in to major production companies, less than 5% of them have a marketable project. Most of them, again, they have really good writing that is not something that can sell. So here you're going to learn how to create a marketable concept. You are also going to learn how to create the conventions, the action conventions that will make it easier for distributors to sell your movie. Lesson number 2, and by the way, with each step, you're going to immediately apply it and make use of it and learn it. Lesson number 2 are heroes and villains that sell the roles. We're not just focused on creating heroes and villains. Anybody can do that. What we're focused on is how do you create some that give you a chance at getting a major actor? Lesson 3, choosing an engaging mission. And, you know, a lot of times, like when I read contest action scripts, I'd say half of them didn't have a mission. They just created a whole bunch of action. And of the other half that did have a mission, probably about 10% of them were a really good mission. The rest were something we'd already seen before. So then these 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all about creating your plot for an action story. Now, here's what this does. This makes sure that every single scene in your script fits what's needed for a major action company to produce it. You start with the mission track, you play that all the way across the entire script, right? What is the mission? How does it play out? Where does it work? Where does it not work? Where does it become impossible? Where do they solve it? What happens in the end? Then you go to the villain track. Who is the villain? What is it about them that is going to make this an incredibly difficult situation for your hero? And what's the villain's mission? What are they trying to accomplish that we're going to be fighting against throughout this whole thing? And how do they keep upping their game until they pretty much destroy your guy? And then to the action track. Where is the action? You know, what is the action? How do you sequence the action so that it makes sense where it comes in? And how do you continually escalate it all the way to the end? Now, once you have these 3 tracks, which nobody else does this, by the way, once you have these 3 tracks, then you're going to put all of that together into your plot. So that becomes your plot for your entire story. This solves the problem most people have where they create a drama with action elements. Essentially, every single scene is delivering something that's important to the action story. Once you have that, then the question becomes, why do we care? And this is important because you need to get us connected to that character who's going to go on this journey, right? They're going to be doing some violent and bad things, and we need to care about them and want to go on the journey with them. Then lesson 9, twist, turns, reversals, and betrayals. Many times these are some of the most interesting moments in your movie. And pretty much you need to have at least one of these every 10 pages, maybe every 5 pages. So you need to master these absolutely start to finish. And we'll give you a whole bunch of different ways to do each one of those. Lesson 10, now we're going to look at the action emotions. And here we will do something nobody has ever done for you. It took us 2 months to figure out how to make it easy for you to be able to create each one of these emotions. So for each emotion, like suspense, fear, shock, anguish, intrigue, etc., each one of these, we give you an exact definition that's one sentence. Like for instance, do you know what anguish is? Could you give me a definition right now? If you don't, that's totally okay. It means you're going to learn something amazing when we get to that. But what we do is we'll give you a definition of it so you'll understand it completely. Then we will give you a one sentence how to create that emotion for your audience, not for your characters, for your audience. And there's a lot of people who think if you have the characters experience an emotion, the audience will too. That's only true about 30% of the time. You know, think about, have you ever gone to a comedy and had a character fall down, hurt themselves, they're in pain, and we're laughing our asses off, right? We're experiencing the exact opposite emotion that they are. So what it comes down to is there's certain ways to create each of these emotions, right? There's certain ways to cause your audience to feel suspense or fear or shock or anguish or intrigue, right? You become a master at those. Your writing in every genre you write in suddenly becomes significantly more deep for the reader. Lesson 11, now you're going to compile everything we just did into your action story map. And this is like a high level outline. It's not like a regular outline because all the things that we just talked about, everything we've just dealt with, you're going to build into that map and you're going to set it up all very, very powerfully. The objective here is by the time you're done, you have an action story map that delivers on multiple levels and that causes anybody who's reading your story to go, oh my God, this writer is incredible. Lesson number 11, now that you have your action story map, we'll start looking at scenes. And here I'm going to give you a model for great action scenes. You got half of that model today. So you already know this is going to be an amazing lesson. You will pick your most important action scenes and you'll write them here using this model. Once you've done that with even a couple of major action scenes, you will know exactly how to do it from now on. Then lesson 13, and this one I get questions about all the time. People will email me and they'll say, you know, I see all these different ways to write action. How do I do it so it works? Right? And I got to tell you, there's a whole bunch of action scripts out there that I would say do not emulate. Because the way they write their action comes from them either being the director or them being somebody who has been on set a lot or something else. And they're not thinking that a reader has to read this in order for it to even get to the next level. So what we need is this kind of nail-biting description that sucks the reader in and has them feel everything that happens. And we went through a whole bunch of different scripts, analyzing them, and we came up with 5 simple ways to write the best action description you've ever read. And once you have it, once you know how to do that, any action scene for the rest of your life, you'll be able to instantly write it in a way that causes people to be blown away. So, and then finally, lesson number 14, formatting for action, right? And there are a few ways to format that cause the reader to experience the action on a deeper level. And we went through and found all of those. We will give you every single one of them at that point. By the time we're done with this program, you will have all the skills to be able to become a great writer. You will have applied them with every single scene of your script. And because of that, when you're working with producers in the future, if they ask you to change something, you won't go into fear. You will have absolute confidence that you can write this better than 98% of the writers out there. You will know exactly what you're doing. You will have all the answers from this program. If you need to, you can go back and check it at that point, but you will have it built into you because you actually use the skills as you wrote. Now, let me give you a special price. And this is for the first 20 people. This class begins on August 28th. That's about 4 or 5 days from now. That gives you a chance to brainstorm some ideas to bring in. And you can bring in either just an idea. You can come in with just an idea. And by the end of this, you have a script. Or you can come in with something you've already written that you want to improve. And my advice to you, if you do that, is to consider whatever you've already written to be an early draft, even if you're on draft 15 of it, and use it as source material as you are going through and creating something that is better than anything you've ever written in your life. So again, the class begins in about 5 days. The regular price on it is $199. I'm going to give you a special here. This is for the first 20 people. You guys know how our system is set up. The first 20 get in at one price, then it bumps up to another price for the next 20, and then it finally bumps up to the full price. So for the first 20, you can get in for $99. That saves you $100. Really, what this brings it down to is it's about the equivalent of going to Starbucks, every other day. I promise you, this class will save you hundreds of hours over the time that you're writing scripts. It will also have your writing be so much stronger. You will not miss a single beat. You will know exactly what you're doing. Now, all you have to do to join us, just go over here to this link and write it down. It says bit.ly/SU action class, as in screenwriting U action class. So again, it's just bit.ly/SU action class. So write that down, put it in your browser where you normally put a web address, click return, sign up, and the moment you sign up, you've begun. Now, the class starts in 5 days, but the moment you sign up, you are already starting to think about this. You are already starting to use the things we just taught, and you're starting to look forward to all of these lessons, each of which is going to make you a stronger writer and a much, much better action writer. Last thing I'll say on this, we've had people who have gotten hired to write action scripts by pretty big producers. We have had people who have had their action scripts optioned. We've had action scripts made into movies. One of them right this moment is on Netflix International that has had millions of views. And all of that happened because they actually learned a higher level of being able to write action scripts. They stood out from the other 98% of writers who write average action. This will make you a professional at this level if you go through and learn and master all of these skills. So this is absolutely worth doing. It will make a tremendous difference for you. So if that's something that you'd like to do, just again, take that link, plug it into your browser where you normally put a web address, and click return and come join us. I hope that what I did today is helpful for you. I hope you already learned something that you can use. And I promise you, going through this program, you will be blown away by what it does for you and your writing. With that, this is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U, wishing you the absolute best with your writing. Bye-bye, everyone.